class, then please accept our humble obeisances. And if any mistakes happens, please forgive us. Also, we welcome to Patanjali Muni Prabhu by saying a free Hari Bol, so everyone can unmute themselves just to welcome Patanjali Muni Prabhu for his class. Thank you. Hari Bol.
Hari Bol. Hari Bol.
Thank you, Patanjali
Hari Bol.
Prabhu. Thank you very much. Okay, so now we're going to unmute everyone, and then the next Premiere Mataji can unmute herself once I unmute everyone to start the summary for class.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Okay, Premiere Mataji, unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna. Last week's session, Prabhuji focused on the following topics. Satyam Param Dhimahi, perception, the demon Agrasura, and the Avanti Brahmana who sang the Gita Bhikshu, and the Pancha Yagna. So Prabhuji spoke about the importance of having the right perception. He gave an example of Hiranyakashipu and Prahalad. Prahalad said Krishna is the supreme and he is nowhere. Prahalad said Krishna is the supreme and he's now here. But Hiranyakashipu said God is nowhere. So if our perception is God is nowhere, then we cannot see God. So then on the topic of Satyam Param Dhimahi, with continuing topic, which is Krishna's presence is everywhere, we also need to recognize that demon's presence is everywhere as well. Now, when we fail to recognize this, we are still under the demon's presence. Next, we heard the story of the demon Agrasura, who represents bad habits such as duplicity, cruelty, violence, etc. So we need to be aware of demonic qualities such as lack of compassion, and we should avoid people with a duplicitous nature. And Prabhuji would like us to practice the Srimad Bhagavatam teachings in our daily lives. So by developing Tyaga or renunciation in our lives, Shanti will follow. But the present day concept of life is on happiness, comfort, security. But the Vedic concept is for peace, which comes from Tyaga or renunciation. Next, we heard about Uddhava's explanation to Vidura, who was on a pilgrimage after being insulted by Duryodhana. Now, this was Sri Krishna's last teaching to Uddhava, I think it was the last, by the Saraswati River. Krishna had told Uddhava in the beginning of creation, he had informed Lord Brahma about how we could return to him in the spiritual world. And this he revealed by informing him about the teachings of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, while King Parikshit was hearing this story, he inquired as to why Uddhava was left back on earth, since all the Yadus had departed. Now, King Parikshit was told that Uddhava was no different from Krishna. They had associated for 120 years, and Krishna had chosen Uddhava to give specific transcendental knowledge in this material world, as he was most devoted, intelligent, and never affected by Maya. Uddhava had asked Krishna, how do we tolerate painful and offensive insults? And Krishna then related the story of the Avanti Brahmana's toleration of insults. And this is why we are reading from Canto 11, chapter 23. The Brahmana had not performed any of the Pancha Yagnas to the devatas who provided us with essential requirements for survival, such as air, light, water, etc. We are indebted to the devatas, to our forefathers, the sages, rishis, and great personalities as Narad Muni, Dhruv Maharaj, and Prahlad Maharaj, even to the cows and the insignificant insects, such as the bees, etc., who contribute to our food production. They can be repaid by performing the Bhuta Yagna. However, for Krishna-conscious devotees, this is included in the daily morning worship by offering flowers, incense, circumambulation, prasadam, and harina. So all the living entities hear Krishna's names. Now, when we host a house program, other humans are worshipped. This is Manusha or Aditi Yagna. Srila Prabhupada included the Rishi Yagna and the Deva Yagna according to Rishabhadev's teachings to his sons, and this is in Canto 5 of the Srimad Bhagavatam. By not performing any worship, the Avanti Brahmana lost all his wealth. So when one offers charity and assists others in society, karmic debts are paid off indirectly with good rewards in the next life. So the Avanti Brahmana was described as a Brahma Bandhu, which is someone who is born in a Brahmin family but lacks Brahminical qualities such as peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, and wisdom and religiousness. Finally, the Avanti Brahmana was experiencing great pain and lamentation. He was tearful, but he became thoughtful. He did not harm anyone when he was miserly with his wealth, and this probably aroused the positive feeling of renunciation. It is not easy to accumulate wealth, so it should be utilized properly. Sometimes accumulating wealth can involve 15 undesirable qualities, which are lies, duplicity, lust, anger, pride, quarreling, enmity, faithlessness, envy, gambling, intoxication. So the last line is when one loses wealth, a conflict of a range of interest arises with family and friends. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Pramila Mataji. It was a really wonderful summary from the last class. And you done really very well. I mean, you really have done a very good homework, I must admit.
Thank you.
All the points. Thank you very much. Now, next is Bhavini Mataji. So you got the next 4 to 5 minutes max to go for the demon story, please. Go.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Please welcome.
Well, thank you for giving me this opportunity and nominating me, because you know, someone does need a push now and then. So I'm narrating the story of Denakasura. Forgive any errors or omissions. So we start off with Balaram and Krishna, who are entering their 6th year. They were given permission to graze the cattle in Vrindavan along with their cowherd friends. Krishna and Balaram walked along Vrindavan, sanctifying the earth with their pious feet. Krishna was very pleased to see the trees full of fruit, bending down as if to bow before him. The peacocks danced in great ecstasy, the bees humming around him, singing his glories, the deer, cuckoos, and other animals all receiving him with great welcome. The scent of flowers and herbs flowing in the air, adding to the auspiciousness. The herbs, trees, plants, creepers, and grass softening the ground that he walks on. In this way, the cows were grazed in Vrindavan, as well as the banks of the river Yamuna and the foothills of Govardhan Hill. One day, the cowherds told Krishna and Balaram about the great forest with a number of trees which was laden with ripened fruit. The name of this forest was called Galvana. However, a demon called Denakasura guarded the forest and prevented anyone going into it, not even birds or animals. But we are all tempted, they exclaimed, to eat this sweet ripened fruit of Talvan forest. If you so wish, can we go? So, being petitioned by the cowherd boys with their sweet smiles, Krishna and Balaram guided them towards the forest. Immediately from entering the forest, Balaram began to shake one of the trees, and the ripened fruit fell down to the ground. Upon hearing this thud to the ground, the demon Denakasura, disguised as a donkey, came hurtling towards Balaram and started to kick his chest with his hind legs. Balaram did not react. This only aggravated the demon, who with great force kicked him once again on Balaram's chest. This time, Balaram grabbed the demon's hind legs and swung him around and around. In this way, the demon lost his life. Balaram flung him towards the trees. The associates of Denakasura assembled and attacked Balaram and Krishna, of which the brothers made light work of, as they grabbed the hind legs of each and every one of them and whirled them around and around and chucked them towards the trees. One by one, they were killed. Having heard of this great incident, the demigods showered flowers on Krishna and Balaram. There are 2 main lessons to learn that we can take from this. One is that if we continue to live our life, put in our efforts in maintaining our body, family, home, work, in a bid to find fulfillment, we will never find satisfaction, and we will carry out this burden of fruitive living into the next life, just as the donkey works all day long, carrying the load on his back for a few carrots. This satisfaction is very limited, temporary, and poor, as we are only existing as we open the door to greed, envy, fear, lust, and anger. The other lesson is that If we allow ourselves to purify the heart and welcome Krishna into the heart, in doing this, just as the trees, plants, animals, and birds in Vrindavan were existing to serve the Lord and please Him, we too can live like this. So the lesson is to learn is to awaken from this darkness of ignorance and begin to live our life, not only to serve Krishna, but to continually remember Him. For me, I have learnt while associating with Patanjali Muni and Pramila Mataji that each day is a present from Krishna. Each day is we are given a chance to serve Him. And in my demon, the demon is that I lack the urgency, showcasing itself in laziness, complacency, and distraction. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Bhavini Mataji. It was very enlightening demon story, and the conclusion was the best one, the end part of it. The one you just mentioned about the Patanjali Muni Prabhu and Pramila Mataji's, how we learn from this story. Really wonderful, enlightening. Thank you. So now I'm going to request Patanjali Muni Prabhu to just, as we discussed, we're going to do all the verses reading and the thing first for the 10. So people can start reading. So yes, all of you, Prabhu, now.
Thank you. And first of all, thank you for summary and demon story. It's quite impressive. I feel like, when you hear some motivation story that they finish this talk within 5 or 10 minutes. So within that 5, 10 minutes, they speak so effectively, and they contain so many information, but simple format, so that they have a maximum impact on the audience. So I'm amazed that all of you have such a wonderful kind of potential that you can present in a way that so conducive for our lecture, and then also for the spiritual journey. I really appreciate your presentation, and let us continue. Here, Dhenukasura representing that the donkey carrying the burden. So we also carrying the unnecessary burden, which is the envy or anger and greed, and most of it fear. So that this is actually the burden. So mostly the fear and anxiety. Most of fear or anxiety has happened in the past. We can't do anything about it. And also we are in anxiety for the future. So still, it's never happened. So we don't know whether it's gonna come or not. And also another fear or anxiety is that even if it happened, it won't affect us at all, in fact. But still we are fearful and also in anxiety. And also sometimes it does affect us something, then actually when it comes, you can deal with it. Krishna gave us enough intelligence to deal with it. So in this way, most of anxiety and the fear is unnecessary burden, but still we carry it every day. So through the Bhagavatam story, especially the demon story, is reminding us, don't carry the burden unnecessarily. So in this way, we'll start. But the reason we are going through this 23rd chapter of 11th canto is that whatever you need to learn through the Bhagavatam is in here, in this chapter. That's why we are going through in detail. Prabhupada, when he translated Bhagavad Gita, second chapter, he says that the summary of the contents. What is the title of the second chapter? It says chapter is contents of the Gita summarized. So second chapter Bhagavad Gita is all the instruction actually is in second canto, second chapter. In that way, the actual title is Sankhya Yoga in Sanskrit, but then yet Prabhupada really stressed the importance of second chapter in Bhagavad Gita. In the same way, in Srimad Bhagavatam also, this 23rd chapter is so important for us. Why? Because the insult we may think, the cause of insult is others, but conclusion is that the cause of insult is our mindset. If we change our mindset, then there's no insult, nothing to tolerate. But if you recognize as insult, then we think we need to tolerate, and then we have to deal with it, so many other things. There are two types of tolerance. One tolerance is that you recognize that as a tolerance, and then you try to suppress your mind. But another tolerance is that you think in such a way that any tolerance actually is nothing to tolerate about. But there is a certain element of discomfort and the pain, but you just deal with it in a way that without mental disturbance. So this 23rd chapter is fundamentally, it teaches how to change our perception. So Satyam Param Dhimai, ultimately, how do we recognize Satyam? So we have to recognize Krishna in our day-to-day life. We have to recognize the demon also. That now, through this 23rd chapter, we will learn how to make a relationship, how to deal with the demon, and also how to develop a relationship with Krishna. This will give us insight. That's why if we learn this 23rd chapter, then actually we know the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam, and then we, whatever we learn from chapter 1, first canto, it will be easier to digest and easier to understand. That's why we're going through 23rd chapter. So now I'll read today only 2 verses, because this verse, because all the Krishna teaching is in here, so verse is very, very condensed. There are a lot of meaning to it. So I plan to cover at least 10 verses, but let's see, first 2 verses, I read first, and then let's see how much you can cover. So 22nd verse of 23rd chapter.
1 second, please share Prabhuji for a second.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, ready.
Okay. Laptva Jammamara Pratyam Manusham Tat Divija Grayatam Tat Anatritya Ye Svaltam Gnati Yanti Ashubham Gatim.
Nina Kavya, Hare Krishna, please.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Is it text? Which one am I reading? Sorry, Sangeeta.
22.
22. Thank you. Those who obtain human life, which is prayed for even by the demigods, in that human birth become situated as first-class brahmanas, are extremely fortunate. If they disregard this important opportunity, they are certainly killing their own self-interest and thus achieve a most unfortunate end. What
Svalga Pavalga Yordvaram Prapya Lokam Imam Pumam Dravine Konu Sajetta Maltyo Naltasha Dhamani.
What mortal man, having achieved this human life, which is the very gateway to both heaven and liberation, would willingly become attached to that abode of worthlessness, material property? Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Vinavya.
Okay, now we can stop the screen share. Okay, thank you. Just now you heard these 2 verses. So who says this verse? Anyone can remember? This verse is spoken by Krishna. So this chapter title is Vikshu Gita. The Vikshu, the Avanti Brahmana who used to be very wealthy, they become beggar later, and having become beggar, and then he sing a song. It's called Vikshu Gita. But that song has not come to yet. So here, Krishna narrating story to Uddhava to answer how to overcome insult. So in order to give a story of Vikshu Gita, Krishna is saying the the beginning of it. So it's a building up to it. So this is still Krishna's statement. So this Krishna's statement here, the main point is that our life is very, very difficult to get, especially this human form of life. And this human form of life is nothing but door to, here it says, Svarga Apavarga Yoho Dvaram. Dvaram is door. So door of not only heavenly planet or spiritual world. So you know the Bill Gates, he created window. The difference between door and window is window, you cannot move, come out of that your place, but you are looking at outside. You see the different world than where you are. So at least it connects you another world. But window, still you have to be where you are. But thief can go out of window, but thief can come in the window. But in general, window is not created for entrance or exit. But door is created that you move from one world to another world. So from your house, you can go outside. When you go outside, it's another world. So in this way, this is our human form, human life is nothing but is door to another world. Especially, Krishna said here, Svarga is a heavenly planet for normal people, but for spiritual people is door to Apavarga, is spiritual world. So what is the meaning? What is the meaning of Apavarga? So I'll go into a bit detail a bit later. So before I start going into this verse, so I'd like to give you a little bit of warm-up of this chapter. So this Avanti Brahmana is got into trouble because he was Yaksha Vitta. So he collected a lot of money. Unfortunately, he didn't know how to share it. So much is so that wealth he didn't use it for himself either. Not only he used it for others, or he didn't use it for others. So he ended up neglecting the worship of Pancha Mahayagya, and then he lost everything. So now, in the Vedic culture, there is a lot of stress, a lot of importance on how to give. So now here you can see the picture on your screen. Okay, so in the screen, they are planting the coconut tree. So this tree, although coconut tree is very, very tall, but when they're young, they look like this. And also, it's a coconut tree gives a lot of insight to learn. So these gentlemen, these village people, they are actually planting the coconut tree, but this is an act of Manusha Yagya. So when plant comes and the coconut comes, and who drink it? The people will drink it. And also the same coconut, they can use it for Yagya, and also they can use it for Krishna's worship. It can be Deva Yagya, it can be Rishi Yagya also. And also coconut tree gives shelter to other living entity. It can be Buddha Yagya. So this is one act of planting coconut tree actually can be interpreted as Pancha Mahayagya. All other elements of Yagya can be contained in this one activity. So how so? So I'll explain a bit further. So there is the verse, not from the Bhagavatam, is well-known Svashta. So like a proverb in Sanskrit terminology. So it says here, Prathama bhayasi pitam toyam alpam smarantaha. So this coconut tree, when they're young, when they are planted, they drink, which is given by human being. So when human being gives water, that water is not a lot. such as maybe 1 bucket of water or 2 buckets of water. So it says, Pitam, they drink alpam toyam. So they drink a little bit of the water which is given by villagers. But smarantaha, but they remember, truly remember what they are given. So sirasi nihita bhara narikela narayana. So while remembering narikela is a coconut tree, and then they carry the bhara, the burden, where in their head, shirasi. So on their head, they carry burden all the time of the, what burden they carry? They carrying the burden of the coconut, what they call actual the fruit. So we just heard the Denuka. So Denuka is carrying unnecessary burden. But here, coconut tree, they carry burden which is beneficial for Naranam, he said, for the human being. Number one, they drank a little bit of water from human being, and then they surrender, remembering. Number one, they are remembering the favor. Number two, they carry the burden for human being. And then now the third step is dadati jalam analpam. So when they give water, they continuously they give. Every year they bear the fruit and then give year by year. So the water they give back to human being is huge compared to what they have received. So dadati, they give constantly jalam, analpam, not alpam, analpam. They give a lot back. And also, what kind of water they give back? It says, aswadam, very sweet water they give. So when they water given by a human being, that water may not be that sweet, or the water may not be that pure. But even then, they give a sweet water back, swadam. How long? It says, ajivitam, ajivita antam, until at the end of their life. So they received a little bit of favor, but trying to return it at the end of their life. That is life of a coconut tree. And then nahi kritam upakaram sadavo bismaranti. But sadava, Prabhupada translates sadava in many ways. Sometimes sadava as a pure devotee, sadava as sages. But in general, Prabhupada translates sadava as, literally meaning is good people. But Prabhupada uses this sadava as good devotee. So good devotee, sadava, nas dismaranti. They never forget. What they never forget? Kritam upakaram. So whatever is good thing, upakaram, favor or help, is done to them. So coconut tree, not only even after death, they give the tree itself for the tree trunk, they give for the firewood. So in this way, when you look at the coconut tree itself, there's so much things to learn, how importance of the giving things. So there are another Subhashita, it said here, Paropakaraya phalanti vrikshaha, Paropakaraya pahanti nadya, Paropakaraya duhanti ghavaha, Paropakara altam idam shariram. So paropakara, upakara, in order to help others, vrikshaha, the trees, they bear fruits. So paropakaraya, for helping others, nadya pahanti, the river flows. And then paropakaraya duhanti ghavaha, all the cows, they give duhanti, give milk for others. And then idam shariram, actually this body is meant for paropakaraya. So for helping others. So in this way, human form of life is very valuable. And then how to give, actually it's mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam also. So we'll go through in the future the story of Vritrasura. So Vritrasura, previous life was Chitraketu. Due to certain curse, he became the demon. So that this demon was fighting with Indra. So, but this demon is so powerful, Indra couldn't defeat. So only way he could defeat this Vritasura is that he need to have the thunderbolt, which is made out of pure devotee. So where can Indra find the thunderbolt, which is made out of someone's backbone? So he finds someone. Finally, he approaches Dadichi Maharishi. So Dadichi Maharishi, he was approached by Indra. So Indra came. So I need your backbone to defeat Vritasura. And then Dadichi, in the beginning, he teaches Indra a little bit. Anyone, body is very valuable for them. How can you ask this? And then he said, I can't give. But and yet, actually, he give in order to teach Indra that, in order to show that how he can give his own body for the welfare of others. So it's not just giving, it's just giving the most valuable thing he can give. So he's showing the life of a devotee. Here it says, anyone can read this one?
Yes, next is Patanjali, please.
The great sage Dadichi said, just to hear from you about religious principles, I refuse to offer my body at your request. Now, although my body is extremely dear to me, I must give it up for your better purposes, since I know that it will leave me today or tomorrow. Hare Krishna.
You can read the next one.
So is it Dadichi Maharishi is giving the valuable. So because he gave his backbone, that's why he could defeat Vritasura. So in this way, human form of life is very, very rare, but at the same time, we have great opportunity to practice how to give. Actually, Krishna says earlier on, previous chapter in 11th canto, something very interesting. That Krishna here, Mataji, could you read this verse also?
Yes, Prabhu, Hare Krishna. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead, expanding his own potency, Maya Shakti, created innumerable species of life to house the conditioned souls. Yet, by creating the forms of trees, reptiles, animals, birds, snakes, and so on, the Lord was not satisfied within his heart. Then he created human life, which offers the conditioned soul sufficient intelligence to perceive the absolute truth, and became pleased. Hare Krishna.
So here, very interesting. Brahma Baloka Dishanam Mudam Apa Devaha. So Mudam is very pleased. So how Krishna is very pleased? That the fact that he created the human being. So you all have done good job by taking birth as a human being. So by being a human being, Krishna is happy with you. So in this Krishna's mercy, actually we got a birth, but at the same time, Krishna is happy with us because at least you are born as a human being. And then the next verse, Krishna says, this is one of the most quoted verse throughout the devotee. Laptva sutulabam idam bhahu sambhavante. Manusham altadam anityam apiha diraha. Tulnam yateta napatet anu mrityu yavan. Nishreya shaya pishaya kalu salvata shat. Okay, please read the translation.
Nikhilakshmi Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, please.
After many, many births and deaths, one achieves the rare human form of life, which, although temporary, affords one of the opportunity to attain the highest perfection. Thus, a sober human being should quickly endeavor for the ultimate perfection of life, as long as his body, which is always subject to death, has not fallen down and died. After all, sense gratification is available even in the most abnormal species of life, whereas Krishna consciousness is possible only for a human being. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you. So in this way, Laptva Sudurlabham. Durlabham is very difficult, but Sudurlabham is very, very difficult to achieve this human form of life. But if we don't utilize it properly, then it's a great loss. So that's why Bhagavad Gita also, it says here, Manusham sahasreshu kaschit yatati sitaye yatatam api sitanam kaschit mam bheti tatvataha. Sahasreshu, among thousands, Manushanam, thousands of people, kaschit, may one person, may summon, literally means may summon, Krishna says, may summon yatati sitaye. They make endeavor for sitaye, for perfection. But yatatam api sitanam, among those who seeking the perfection in life, kaschin mam bheti tatvataha. Only kaschin, someone, mam bheti, knows about me, tatvata, in truth. And again carries on, bhaunam jammanamante jnanavamam prapadyate. Vasudeva salvamiti sa mahatma sudurlabha. Again here, sudurlabha is coming. Very, very rare. So that after many, many words, bhaunam jammanama ante. Jnanavan mam. Those who knows me, they prapadante, they surrender. So what is the sign of surrender? That Vasudeva Sarvamiti, everything is Krishna. So in this way, there are glorious description about a human being, that the glorious description of taking part in spiritual practice. Here, Prabhupada, today is the 13th of October, yes? So there is a message of Prabhupada, 13th of October. So anyone can read this one?
Yeah, that will be Nitya Mataji.
Hare Krishna. A pure devotee is who loves Krishna without any material desire. Such pure devotees are very rare, but by the grace of Krishna, particularly all the devotees and disciples who have kindly joined me, their symptoms are pure devotees. Even if they have got some ulterior desire, that will be removed very soon, because they have taken the pure process of Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you, Nitya Mataji.
What a positive statement. So, luckily, in one sense, we are all just one step away from Krishna. So here, Prabhupada is saying that don't worry, even if you have ulterior desire, but still you join Sangha, still read Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, still trying to do some worship, then that ulterior desire, whatever unnecessary things you carry on your mind or on your head, will be removed very soon. Why? Because ultimately this is a purpose, this is a pure process of Krishna consciousness. So anyone who has a doubt, when can I become pure devotee? Don't worry, just stay on the path, just keep on practicing, then this is Prabhupada's guarantee. So in this way, we have a double mercy. We have mercy of Krishna, we have another mercy of Prabhupada. So what to worry? So if we deny this one, then we become like a Hiranyakashipu. God is nowhere. So that son saying that God is now here. So they're arguing. But Hiranyakashipu saying that I can't see anywhere, so he hit the pillar. So then Prahlad Maharaj said that with the faith that yes, in that pillar also. So in order to make a devotee's word true, Krishna has to appear from the pillar. It could appear from anywhere with a nice, the what you call stretched limousine. The Krishna come in that stretched limousine, but Krishna didn't use a stretched limousine or his own private jet. So he used the pillar to come out. But now, question is here. In order to bring Krishna out from the pillar, what Prahlad Maharaj went through, normally we don't really focus on it. Our focus is when something in the trouble, oh, Krishna comes, Hiranyakashipu is around us. So, okay, so now we need to pray for Nishingadev. Hey, Nishingadev, come. But the process before, we missing out. How much Prahlad Maharaj, even if he went through so much trouble, his mind was fixed. Even if he was thrown off in the cliff, he didn't blame Krishna. Hey, why you are not protecting me? I'm going down the hill. Krishna was down there in the bottom side of the cliff. Where is the Prahlad is falling? So let me try to hold him. But while Prahlad Maharaj is falling, Prahlad Maharaj didn't have even 1 second doubt that Krishna will not protect. So now, my question to you, where do you take Krishna out in your life? From where? And also, whatever you are going through, whatever difficulties you may have, don't you think that difficulty is a process of bring Krishna out? Maybe from pillar, maybe from your own door, or maybe from your own job, or maybe from your own relationship. So Krishna comes out from anywhere. Why? According to Prahlad Maharaj, he said that God is now here. But unfortunately, we want to skip the process. We want to only result of it. Only Krishna, when you come out, I like it. When you don't come out, I don't like it. So Krishna conscious process, it doesn't work in that way. Look, Srila Prabhupada's life also. So at the age of 68, he went on to Jaladuta. Normally people want to sit in the back in his whatever retired home. But in order to see Krishna's almost face to face in the Jaladuta, Prabhupada has to go through 2 heart attacks. At the heart attack, sincerely Prabhupada prayed that it's your choice, that whether I survive this journey or not. You handle me roughly or not, it's all up to you. He never gave up faith. But for us, something happened in life, our faith easily shaken, and we easily blame Krishna. Why are you doing this to me? I've been devotee for 30 years. I've been chanting 16 rounds for how many years? I'm doing every Sunday, I'm doing seva. But this is our mentality. So in this way, we like Krishna, but problem is that we don't like the process of it. So it doesn't make sense. So for example, lady wants to, when they get married, they want to have a child. So in order to have a child, there is a process to it. So they have to carry the baby, and then they have to pain of the giving of birth. They have to go through this pain. Then you'll have a next generation, which is given by Krishna. So in this way, we have to learn Prahlad Maharaj that he can bring out Krishna from the pillar. In order to bring the Krishna out from the pillar, actually he had to go through tremendous trouble. So in our mind also, we have to get ready going through any trouble, any challenges in our life. But in another sense, actually that challenges in our life is a process of bringing Krishnas out. If there is no Prahlad Maharaj's trouble, then there is no Nishimadev. For example, father was nice and father was very Krishna conscious of Prahlad Maharaj reading Bhagavatam from young age. They are happy together. Then there's no second canto. But because of Hiranyakashipu, we have second canto. So we have grateful to Hiranyakashipu also. So in this way, anytime we feel challenged, but actually there is signal of Krishna, there is a true favor of Krishna that we have to understand that. So now here, someone recently sent an interesting, what you call, small talk. He's saying that nowadays phones are codeless. The car is keyless. So if everybody has smartphone. If smartphone put next to your car, then the car automatically unlocked. Our communication become wireless. Our food become fatless. Our sweets are sugarless. But unfortunately, our relationship becomes meaningless. Once you switch off your mobile phone, your relationship finishes. Once you shut down the computer, your Facebook also finishes, your relationship also finishes. In this way, our attitude becomes more and more careless. Our argument becomes baseless. Our youth becomes jobless. And also, on top of that, our needs are endless. Due to lockdown, our income getting less and less, and our life becomes hopeless. And then endeavor for happiness becomes useless. Why? All this less and less, ultimately because of godless. Most unfortunate thing is that godless in our life. So, as we saw through the Prahlad Maharaj, we try to see God in our day-to-day life. That's what we are trying to do. So in order to see God in our life, then we have to change the perception. What is change the perception? Change the perception is that try to think or try to see now through the Shastric point of view. If we don't have practice of see things Shastric points of view, then what happens? We become like Duryodhana. So in the beginning, in the Duryodhana, in the battlefield, that he was seeing Pandava's side of Vyuha, the battle arrangement, and he make a judgment. Aparayatam tat asmakam bhalam bhishma abhirakshitam parayaptam tibidam etesham bhalam bhima abhirakshitam. So he is saying that asmakam bhalam, our strength is aprayaptam, it's unlimited. Why? Because Bhishma Abhirakshana, because protected by Bhishma Dev. And then Etesham Balam, the Kauravas Balam, their strength is Parayaptam, is limited. Why? Because they are protected by Bhima Abhirakshitam. So he said in that way, he made his own judgment according to what he had. But result of war didn't go as he expected. So this is the life. You may have your own calculation, but Krishna has another calculation. Unless until you tune into Krishna's calculation, then your calculation may not be successful. This is one lesson. Second thing is that the word aprayaptam has two meanings. One meaning is that unlimited. So Prabhupada translated as immeasurable. But another meaning of aprayaptam is insufficient. Although he says aprayaptam as a meaning of unlimited, but Krishna and all other Kauravas party heard this meaning as insufficient. So that the army, which is protected by Duryodhana, and also which is protected by Bhishma Dev, although Duryodhana thinks our strength is unlimited, but Krishna heard that, that's insufficient. Yeah, that's correct. And also, Parayaptam means sufficient. So Bhima Virakshitam. So Kaurava's army, which is protected by Bhima, they are sufficient. So in this way, Gita verse, whatever, not only Gita verse, whatever we see, we can see entirely opposite way. So someone sees in one way, the other person sees entirely another way. So last week, one of class I mentioned that one businessman, he, before entering the restaurant, he was cheated by one old lady who was selling the flower. So that old lady is saying that, please buy this flower because my granddaughter is sick, so I want to make money to have medicine for my granddaughter. So this businessman happily bought the flower, but later on he realized that he was cheated. But this businessman wasn't angry at all. Why? Because he realized that there is no sick granddaughter. So no one is sick, so why do I need to worry? So rather than being angry, he wasn't, that the cheating instant didn't affect him at all. So in this way, according to our perception, we mold our life in certain way. But now we need to have the Krishna's perception, true perception, Satyam Param Dhimai. So this is the example of this 23rd chapter is a full example of that. So regarding the perception, there is a one very instructive example. So there is saying that mirror and window principle. When things goes well, you have to see the window. When things doesn't go well, you have to see the mirror. Why? So when things goes well, look out the window, see who is going out there and then what is out there. So when you see the window, there is a sun, moon, and then trees and other people. So that don't credit yourself only. All other existence is there to help your success. So always you look window when things goes well. Don't think you are doing well because everything goes well. No, it's not like that. But things is not going well, then look at the mirror. When you look at mirror, who do you see? You see yourself. So trying to blame yourself rather than someone else. And also trying to rectify and correct yourself. How can I make it better? So in this way, we have a mirror and window principle. So in this way, our life is so valuable. So I'll give you another example, and then I'll go back to this verse again. So that there is one verse saying, Aptatena harim prasanna akarot otana pada shishyuhu satta hena nripa parikshit katvango gati dvena navadi parayo vina na vidyate tam karunyam iti prapannam sharanam shesha ayusha toshaye. So one Brahmana, like Avanti Brahmana, he had a very, very good life in a way that not the Brahminic life. You know, materially he was wealthy and he had a lot of relationship with the women. So at the age of 90, somehow he happened to visit one of temple. But in those days, you know, there are some sadhus, they can see someone's future by looking at their face. And then he was taking a darshan and then coming out. And then this sadhu has some compassion so that I can see your face and you don't have much life left. Just before he had all the, what they call the female associates. And suddenly when he heard this sadhu's voice, all of a sudden he came to sense. And then he composed this verse. That here he says that in order to please Harim Prasanna, in order to please Krishna, Uttanapada Shishuhu. So Uttanapada's son, who is that? Dhruva Maharaj. He took only 6 months. And then Sattahena Nripa Parikshit. For Parikshit Maharaj, it took only 7 days. Moreover, Katvanga Katidvena. For Katvanga, it took only 2 Kati. 2 Kati means around 1.5 hours. And then I'm Navadi, I'm 90 years old, but still I have some life left. So that Tam Karunyam iti. So now I'm surrendering into Pranam Saranam, the person who has this much of mercy. So I'm surrendering Shesha Ayusha, the rest of my life, Dosha. Yeah. So I dedicate myself to worshiping Krishna. So even he reached 90 years old, previous life wasn't that spiritual life. Is like anyone else, fully dedicated his time and energy for enjoying his senses, but somehow he clicked, so that even at the age of 90, he somehow came around and then started to worship Krishna. So in this way, our life is valuable, and also chances are plenty here. So now I'm going to read one more time. In this way, 22nd verse, if you look at it, those who obtain human life, which is prayed for even by the demigods. So our life, human form of life, especially in Kali Yuga, Prabhupada is saying that all the demons are in the queue to take birth in Kali Yuga. Why? Because in Kali Yuga, if you practice a little bit of devotional life, then easily you go to Krishna. And then 23rd verse, it says here, this human form of life is Svarga Apavalga Yo Dvaram. So Svarga, heavenly planet, you know already. But what is meaning by door of Apavalga? Proper explanation is that Pavalga is Pa-pa Bhava Ma. So this material world is called Pavalga, not Apavalga. Pavalga. Why? Because Pavalga is Papa, is full of sin. And then Palam. People are made after the result of their work. And then Bha means bondage. This material world is nothing but bondage. And then Bha is Bhaya, is a fear. Banda and Bhaya. So this material life is Papam, Palam, Bandam, Bhayam, and then Mrityu. So this life is constantly, we experience repeated death. So this is a Pavalga, but Apavalga is beyond this bondage, sin, and then this death. Beyond this world is called Apavalga. So this human form of life is Dvaram Apavalga. Apavalga Yoho Dvaram. So this is door of this Apavalga. So in this way, why do we waste our energy and time for something which is not really useful for us? So here Krishna is saying, by quoting, in order to quote the Bhikshu Gita, actually he is what you call doing groundwork, doing all these verses. And then let's move on to next 2 verses. Devarishi Pritibhutani Nyatin Bandhumscha Bhaginaha Ashambhitpacha Chatmanam Yakshavitya Patati Adaha. So, please read translation of text 24. Mataji, unmute. Mataji, I think you're muted. Sangeeta Mataji.
Okay, sorry. I'm going to share the screen, so your screen will be disappear here.
Okay. Okay. Let me stop here.
Okay, so Alkesh Prabhu, please can you read 24?
One who fails to distribute his wealth to the proper shareholders, the demigods, sages, forefathers, and ordinary living entities, as well as his immediate relatives, in-laws, and own self, is maintaining his wealth simply like a yaksha and will fall down.
The next one, Kasmat Shankarishate Vitvan Vityartha Alte Haya Sakrit Kashyachin Mayaya Nunam Lokoyam Subhimohitaha.
Yes, Alkesh Prabhu, please.
Oh, that is the 26. I'll read the 25.
25, yeah.
Vyalta alte haya vittam paramattasya vayovalam kushala yena sityanti jaratha kimnu sadaye.
Yes, Alkesh Prabhu, please. 20.
Discriminating persons are able to utilize their money, youth, and strength to achieve perfection, but I have feverishly squandered these in the useless endeavor for further wealth. Now that I am an old man, what can I achieve?
So here it's a Brahmana saying. So this Brahmana saying that his wealth it wasn't distributed properly, and then he's regretting. So here, wealth is focused on so-called, we say about, when we say about wealth, normally we say about money, but don't minimize wealth only to the money. So wealth can be in our character, wealth can be in our austerity, and also wealth can be in our knowledge also. So, for example, Manusha Yagya or Atiti Yagya. So we, according to our understanding, sometimes some people think that only when I welcoming guests, then I'm doing the Atiti Yagya or Manusha Yagya. But it's not like that. That is one example. For example, when you walk out to the door early in the morning, when you do japa work, whatever, sometimes when you meet people on the street or neighbors, then you yourself happily say good morning to you, good morning. So this can be also Manusha Yagya. Anything you do within on your life, even your family members, or even you at work. So maybe if previously you didn't say hello, but you start to saying hello to people. So then this is also Manusha Yagya. This is also distributing your wealth to other people. So this looks like it only has to do with the money, but it's not like that. So that extend this conception of wealth even a bit more. So in this way, demigod, sages, forefathers, it doesn't mean that only you have to go to Gaya, you have to do Shraddha ceremony. No, it's not only that. You know, when you offer the flowers, that offer the flowers or incense, you showing to those pictures of your forefathers or your ancestors, you showing to them. That is a part of worship also. And so sages, worship with sages also. Read the scriptures of the Shastra. All the Shastra is actually spoken by all the sages. Even Krishna himself, when he says something, he always quote, thus I heard in this way. So he quoting someone else. So in this way, this also can be Rishi Yagya. So all this Pancha Yagya is pretty much very available in our day-to-day life. And also you trying to find in a way that different form of, most of the practical form of your own Pancha Yagya. This will cultivate your own mind, and also this will help your purification in your day-to-day life. For example, if you have a garden, then have something to bird can eat, something like that. So in this way, you're trying to practice all this Pancha Yagya within your own life. So let us continue. So text 26. Kasmat Sanklishyate Vidvan Vidyartarte Haya Shakrit Kasin Mayaya Nunam Loko Yamsu Bhimohita.
Okay, Oma, please.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Why must an intelligent man suffer by his constant vain efforts to get wealth? Indeed, this whole world is most bewildered by someone's illusory potency. Haribol.
Kim Dhanail Dhana Dhanail Va Kim Kamail Va Kamadail Uta Mrityuna Grashama Nasha Karmavil Bhota Jammadai.
Yes, Oma, please.
For one who is in the grips of death, what is the use of wealth or those who offer it, sense gratification or those who offer it, or for that matter, any type of fruitive activity which simply causes one to again take birth in the material world?
Thank you, Ma. Thank you very much.
So here earlier on, Kuntidev saying that avidya, kama, karmavi. So with these three words, Kuntidev describes our life of beginning and the end. So we start our life with avidya, ignorance. And due to ignorance, we develop so many desires, karma. So by this karma, we do karma activities. But when we do activities, there are two results that comes. One is either cause you, if it's a good activity, then it causes bondage. But it's a bad activity, then if it's a bad, then sinful reaction comes. So according to that, either bondage or simple reaction, we have to take a birth again and again. So if we have this valuable human form of life, then why don't we use our this energy for such a petty cause? So ultimately, this one will be available even human animal form of life, certain amount of happiness, a certain amount of their comfort, a certain amount of their enjoyment. Even they are available. So here, it's saying here that what have I done now? So here, Bhikshu Avanti Brahmana is regretting. So now next two verse, let's go through. Nunam me bhagavam stushtaha salvadeva mayo harihi yena nitto dashyam etam nilvedascha atmana plavaha.
Vipra Mataji.
Hare Krishna. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Hari, who contains within himself all the demigods, must be satisfied with me. Indeed, he has brought me to this suffering condition and force me to experience detachment, which is the boat to carry me over this ocean of material life.
Okay. Soham kala vashena Shosha ishe digmam, shosha ishengam atmanaha, aparamatto kilas salvalte yadi shitta atmani.
Yes, Mataji, Bible.
If there is any time remaining in my life, I will perform austerities and force my body to subsist on the bare necessities. Without further confusion, I shall pursue that which constitutes my entire self-interest in life, and I shall remain satisfied within the self. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
So now the 7:15, so I'll end here. So this is a beautiful translation, so that
I mean,
even
if you
just
sorry, Prabhuji, if you would like to go for another 2 verses, that's fine. If you speak those 2, so one Mataji can read, and then we at least learn some people.
okay, so
Yeah.
two more verses you want me to
Yeah,
read?
if you
Okay,
read it, then we can.
okay,
Yeah.
then I'll do then two verses. So
Yeah.
tatra mam anumo deran devastri bhuva neshvaraha muhultena brahma lokam katvanga samasadayat.
Tapti Mataji? Tapti Mataji, are you there? Pravita, can you please read Pravita? Pravita? Hare Krishna, Pravita.
Hare Krishna.
Can
We
you
read
please, yeah, can you read the 30, please?
Yeah. Thus may the presiding demigods of these 3 worlds kindly show their mercy upon me. Indeed, Maharaj
Katvanga, yeah.
Katvanga was able to achieve the spiritual world in a single moment. Lord,
Thank you.
And text 31, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha iti avipretya manasa hya avantyo divija sattamaha ummucha hridaya grantin shanto bhikshur avun munihi.
Pravita, please.
Lord Sri Krishna continued, his mind thus determined, the most excellent Avanti Brahmana was able to untie the knots of desire within his heart. He then assumed the role of a peaceful and silent sannyasi mendicant. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Pravita. Thank you very much.
So here, translation said he then assumed the role of peaceful and silent sannyasi mendicant. But actually, Krishna himself called him as a sannyasi. He didn't actually went through the process of taking a sannyasi, but due to this realization, Krishna considered him as a sannyasi. So this Avanti Brahmana, he was put into most difficult situation. But and yet he took as a great mercy. He's saying that presiding demigods of these 3 worlds showed mercy upon him. He thought in that way. In such a predicament, he turned these things entirely different way. So this is called change of perception. Nothing has changed externally, but what he changed, his perception has changed. So this one, Krishna wants us to learn. So Krishna continues. So we'll discuss further from text 32 next week. If you have any questions, so please.
If anybody has a question or any realization, please kindly unmute yourself and I will let you speak, please. Thank you. Or raise your hand, whatever you feel comfortable with.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Pramila Mataji.
Okay, Pramila Mataji, sorry, you want to speak? Yeah, okay, go on.
In some of the information you sent out, and it lists the level of like ghosts and humans and different sort of living entities. Now I saw ghosts actually come before humans, and how is that?
Yes, ghost is the level of the devatas. So I think that verse is, just one second, let me find out. It is described in the 5th canto, 5th chapter, text 21, 22. The
Yes.
what you call the level of different what you call hierarchy of
Yes.
living entities.
Uh-huh.
So for others information, let me read that one.
Okay.
So inanimate object, start with inanimate object, and then movable living entity on the top, animals on the top, human beings. So on the top of human beings, actually paramatas, and then Gandalvas and Sitas, Kinnaras, and on the top of Kinnaras, there is Asuras. And then on the top of Asuras, Devatas, and then Indra, Daksha, Shiva, Brahma, and Supreme Lord. So in this way, human being is not very high in the hierarchy of living entities. We are just above animal, that's all. So this ghost, although we think that the ghost is a very low creature, but actually their level, the stage is above us. So this is how they describe.
Yeah, I'm very surprised with that.
Very surprising, isn't it?
Yes.
And also fish in the sea, in the water, they are lower than trees. Within the living entity group, that's some other way mentioned in the Bhagavatam.
Thank you, Patanjali Prabhu, and thank you, Pramila Mataji, for asking the question. Is anyone would like to raise any question or would like to give a realization about this class or something, please? Hare Krishna. Take the last 5 minutes. Just go on, please. Later, Rupa Gupta would like to say something.
I just wanted to ask, just out of your last sentence, I wanted to ask you that is like cutting of trees will be more sinful than like killing a fish or something, because fish is lower than
According to Vedic perspective, yes.
cutting trees is more
Yeah,
sinful.
cutting trees you're committing more sin than killing the fishes.
Okay, thank you, Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Wow. Very good question, Rupa. Thank you.
Thank you.
So also,
in
sorry,
another
Patanjali
sense,
Muni Prabhu. Sorry,
yeah,
one
just
more
1
question.
second. Yeah, just one more. In another sense, if you plant a tree, that punya you get is unbelievable.
Wow.
So if you plant a tree, that the benefit you get is unbelievable. Yes, Mataji. So what are your thinking about?
So the thing
Thank
is,
you, Hare Krishna.
what people have when people, like, let's say about the cutting the tree, you mentioned it. So when people have a big tree and the branches are all over the place and they are coming on a weight to blocking the sun and all, and they have to cut those branches, is it a sin as well?
No, that is not sin. If you cut the tree, cut the branches, it's considered as cutting your nail.
Yeah.
Or cutting your hair.
Yeah, but cutting
Because
the
they don't
tree
feel
from
much of a, because they're growing back, so that the cutting a tree is no sin at all.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to know. Thank you. Okay, there's the one here, iPhone, I think. I don't know the name, but the person would like to ask a question. Please, yeah.
Hare Krishna Mataji. My name is Surya, just a devotee. When we, Patanjali Muni Prabhu, verses like Srimad Bhagavatam 11:23-28. So it is talking about, it was such an ecstatic verse that they're saying, O Krishna, he who contains within him all the demigods, and he's praising Krishna a lot. And he has brought me to this suffering condition and forced me to experience detachment. How can we come to this level, Prabhu, to always like think about Krishna, like you showed the Prabhupada quote and all that? And I mean, I was just thinking how to get further and further, how to get to that place.
It starts with yourself. So demigod also is within us. we think in general demigod is above, for example, Bhavi is above, Indra is above in the heavens, so demigods all above. No, all the demigods is residing within us. Demigods who residing, the vision residing in the eyes, demigod in charge of what you call sound, the residing in our ear, nose, mouth. So whether we are aware of it or not, actually demigods also is living with us. Why? Because Krishna is living within our heart. So when the president goes, when king goes, their servant also going too. Ministers also going too. So don't think demigods and we are different. So in this way, when we see things, when we hear things, we think because of our ability, we think we seeing and we hearing. Or digesting food also the same. So Krishna's presence, demigod presence is one level, but within ourselves, we try to appreciate what we have right now. The relationship may be, sometimes it may be troublesome, but in another sense, Krishna sent these people to around us to teach us what we lack and to point out what we are getting disturbed about. So that we, in order to work on what we getting disturbed about, so that's why they're sending to us. Maybe it's sometimes in the form of even abuse, but somehow we have to know how to deal with this one, with intelligence. So always start with right next to you, and then the life, your prana itself, prana, apana, samayukta. So this is actually, previously, I think I was breathing, but actually Krishna is behind us for my breathing. Aham Vaishavanaro Bhutava. I'm residing as the digesting fire. So start with within yourself, the Krishna presence, demigod, the presence, and then start your life with appreciation and gratitude. Then this will grow and grow. Then finally you reach that Krishna is behind us everything. That's why Krishna said in the Bhagavad Gita, just we read it, Bhasdeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudhulla. It's not easy, but and yet it is reachable. That's why it's mentioned in the Gita in that way. So start from where you are, where you stationed. So from there, you're building up the Krishna's presence.
Thank you, Patanjali Muni Prabhu. We have two people have raised their hand, and there is the one which is on the chat question. So can I just ask you the one which is Sunita Mataji have asked the question,
Mataji,
which is
go ahead, yeah.
5th canto, which chapter is about the Buddha?
Sorry?
About the spirit ghost. That's what Sunita Mataji have asked the question.
So 5th canto, 5th chapter, text 21-22.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. And also there's another question is, how can a 96 years old achieve a moksha for such a short period of time?
So
that's from the Julie Mataji.
So Gita chapter second chapter, the last verse. Let's read it together. Esha brahmi stiti parta nainam prapya bimuyhati sitvasham antekalepi brahma nirvana vichati antakalepi. Even if last moment, antakala, so the last moment, still you can enter into kingdom of God by the mercy of Krishna if you have right mindset. So anyone can read the translation?
Just a second. Which one?
Chapter 2, last verse of Bhagavad Gita. Chapter 2, the last verse of chapter 2.
Yeah, just give me 1 second. I'm just going to share the screen so we can read it. Oh gosh, it's all installing. No, it's not letting
Shall I
me
read
do
it? Yeah.
Please,
Yeah,
yeah.
read.
Thank you.
Anyone can.
Yeah, I read it. This
Yeah,
is the way of. Yeah, this is the way of the spiritual and godly life, after attaining which a man is not bewildered. if one is thus situated, even at the hour of death, one can enter into the kingdom of God.
So here it says that this is the way of spiritual and godly life. So Krishna kindly provided that even you missed all the chance entirely your life, but still Krishna says, don't worry, I'll give you the last concession. So even at that time of death, so if you think about me, you'll come to me.
Yeah.
So how merciful Krishna is. That's why it says, the Brahmana says, in the verse, it says, Tam karunyam, you are the personification of the mercy. Iti prapanna sharanam. So I surrender myself. Shesha ayushaha, rest of my life. So some of you maybe in advanced age. So, but still, no worry at all. Never late in Krishna consciousness.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
There is three more questions people have. Can I let you go for it?
Yeah, yes, I'll answer briefly.
There's a Sarita Lal again. Please, yeah, you can unmute if you have any other question apart of what was in the chart.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, thank you for such a wonderful class. Sorry, I still didn't get that fifth chapter, text number
2122.
2122. Sorry, it's just about the how these all the creation is at different levels.
So the ghost is above a human being, yeah. So I think it's there. Paramatas, I think it's a ghost.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so you got that chapters now, and
thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Sita Mataji. So next is the Niti Lakshana Mataji. You can ask a question, please.
Hare Krishna, Patanjali Prabhu. Very nice class. Thank you. I wanted to ask you a question back to cutting trees. We got a great big tree behind our house, and you just mentioned it's wrong to cut the tree down. If it's affecting our house and we have to cut it, am I still causing an offense?
So then there is a process to it.
Okay.
So when, for example, Jagannath, the deities in the Jagannath Puri, they change every 12 years, something like that, according to the different calculations, sometimes 13 years, sometimes 11 years. So that before they cut the tree, actually, they worship of a tree. So that now we have to cut this tree, so you make a rat or whatever. So that, the simple process, you do some form of yagya in a simple form. If it's not available, then, your family, so over some water or whatever, so that you pray for them. So due to certain reason, we have to cut. So please leave now. Your life, you can leave now, so you can cut the tree. So in this way, you make a certain apology first, and then cut it. If it's truly necessary, so that you inform the soul within the tree, give enough time to leave the body.
Okay.
As the Parikshit Maharaj left the body before, then Takshaka beat it, so it can be possible.
All right. So after we've done the prayers, how long do we leave it before we cut it?
It's up to you.
There's
no hard and fast rule.
I think.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Sorry. 1 second. There is a people in the queue.
Sorry, I didn't realize.
Sorry. Yeah, I got one here. That the Pranas have actually asked, wanted to ask the question. Pranas. Hare Krishna, Pranas. Maybe he waited long enough and gone. Oh yeah, he's there now. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, do you have a question, Pranas? No, he unmuted himself accidentally. Okay, Julie Mataji can go ahead now.
Please. Oh, it's connecting with trees. I think there are rules and laws against certain trees. You're not allowed to. They're listed and they're protected through the laws. So why is some of them protected and some aren't?
I think it's from the government regulation, isn't it? It's the UK government law, so I'm not aware of what trees they are protecting, what is not protecting. There must be some reason, yes.
Yeah.
some trees are enlisted so that we cannot.
That's right. Yeah.
That trees. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
there
yeah.
must be higher vision. So that I cannot.
Maybe we need
answer.
to have all trees listed.
Especially in Amazon.
Right. But this is really enlightening answer, Patanjali Muni Prabhu. I'm sure many of us would not be aware about these things. You know, the cutting tree is a more seen than somebody having a fish. So thank you, Rupa, for really raising this question and enlightening us, all of us today. So yeah, so shall we just do the closing prayers now?
Okay.
Please.
Let's do the closing prayers.
And I just would like, before we do the closing prayer, I would like to say thank you very much, Patanjali Muni Prabhu, and all the participants for being here. Please accept our humble obeisances and always the Shri Prabhupada and Patanjali Muni Prabhu. Yeah, say Hari Bol to Patanjali Muni Prabhu.
No, it's not necessary. We have done already.
Hari Bol and Hari Bol. That's it. You
Hari
always.
Bol. Thank you very much.
It's always
You so don't.
you
It's not
are.
necessary.